The beating heart of West Africa lies without a doubt in Benin. It is a mysterious country, populated by strange gods and ghosts, where ancestral spirits reign over the fate of the living.
This place is the link between life and death. Our spirits are hiding here. If this house disappears, our ancestors will disappear too, and they won't be able to do any more for us.
Armed with a powerful spirituality, these men and women are fighting to protect their heritage. They are the sentinels of Benin. An incessant buzz rises and falls but never stops. Porto Novo, the capital of Benin, wouldn't be the same without the toing and froing of its motorcycle taxis or zemi-jean. Zemi-jean, meaning get me there fast in the fun language, is a popular form of transport despite the threat they pose to passengers and pedestrians of both the two-legged and four-legged variety. Every morning, Ateni gets on his motorbike and crosses the city in search of customers.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
I want to go to that crossroads over there. How much do you charge?
200. Come on. $5 liters, please.
Here's your 200 francs.
Thanks, bye. Give me 5 liters, I'm in a hurry. There's no oil in Benin, but Nigeria has vast reserves. Benin's unemployed buy cut-price fuel on the other side of the border and bring it back here to sell. The service stations are too expensive. We Beninese, we can't afford it. Money's scarce in Benin. Life's not easy. I'm a farmer, but I have a family, and farming doesn't pay well enough to feed them all year around. So during the dry season, I run a taxi service. It helps us to make ends meet. What's good about this place is that Porto Novo is a cosmopolitan city that attracts people from all over Benin, and even foreigners. There are lots of old colonial buildings, but also hotels and restaurants which bring together people from all over Africa and the rest of the world. I'm really proud of my city.
Porto Novo, the fiefdom of the Goon and Yoruba peoples, has been enriched by numerous architectural influences over the course of its turbulent history. Before becoming French, it was a Portuguese trading post in the 18th century. Slaves were carted off to Brazil from here in their thousands. The majority of them were Muslim, and they took their God with them to South America. After the abolition of slavery, some of the slaves' descendants crossed back over the Atlantic to settle on the land of their ancestors. These Afro-Brazilians built this Baroque mosque by hand, modelled on Salvador Cathedral in Bahia, with just one difference. The Great Mosque is topped by a crescent instead of a cross. Here in Benin, the mix of architectural styles and the religious syncretism have never bothered anyone. Islam and Christianity have had no choice but to accept the presence of animist cults that are as old as Africa herself.
What unites us all here is voodoo. As soon as I wake up in the morning, I start praying to my deities. Only after I've done that can I get on my motorbike and head out in search of customers.
Benin is the birthplace of voodoo, with its 50 million followers worldwide. Practiced in secret, behind closed doors or in the open, such as here in this temple shaped like a termite mound, voodoo is a powerful and demanding master for its followers. Ateni is a high-ranking initiate. He plays a crucial role in his own voodoo community. Summoned for a ceremony, he leaves the city centre to return to his village on the outskirts of Porto Novo. Voodoo has a pantheon of gods symbolizing the forces of nature. Ateni's village is protected by Revioso, the god of storms and lightning. Revioso, sometimes represented by a ram, is invoked several times a year by the villagers. If he appears, he will take possession of an initiate. Sukluno, the village's voodoo priest, leads the ceremony. He is assisted by cult leaders from the surrounding area.
Oh, Revioso, your children haven't come to worship you empty-handed. Have mercy on us and grant us longevity. May any enemy who decides to persecute us find you blocking their path.
The sacrifices are made. Voodoo musicians signal to their deity that the ritual has been completed. Suddenly, it's all happening. Revioso has appeared. He has taken possession of a follower.
Go away, you haven't been initiated. You can't touch him.
Stand him up! Stand him up and hold him! Hold him!
It is Ateni, the taxi driver, who has only just arrived but is already in a trance. He has grabbed hold of a villager and it has taken 4 people to free the man.
Give him some water!
The trance is dangerous. Only a few well-prepared initiates can serve as a receptacle for the powerful voodoo god. Ateni is one of them, and he plays this role in his community. But now that he is possessed, he has lost control of himself. The priests have dragged him to the sacred hut to prepare him for the rest of the ceremony. It's time for the celebrations to begin. They must drum, chant and dance with all their might to obtain the blessing of Revioso, who has appeared on earth among men. A purple loincloth, the colour of lightning, and the straps on the costume symbolize the bonds between the possessed man and his god. Placing themselves under his protection, the faithful ask the deity for good health, good luck, and prosperity for their village. Despite all the clichés, voodoo is a benevolent religion for its initiates and the wider community.
Now that the spirit, the strength, and the soul of the lightning god has entered Athéné's body, he no longer knows what is happening. If you meet him later, Athéné will tell you that he doesn't know what happened. If you ask him and say to him, "But you were dancing just now," he will just reply, "Pfft." For the Beninese, spirituality is very important, especially voodoo. Because voodoo embraces rich and poor. It embraces young and old. Voodoo brings together the different strata of society. 92% of the Beninese practice voodoo. Even those who claim to be religious, when they have problems, they turn to voodoo to solve them.
The entire population belongs to this age-old secret cult. In order to understand the Beninese, you must take an interest in their spirituality, but also their geography. Situated in West Africa, Benin is a small, narrow country covering a surface area of 115,000 square kilometers. Its 10 million inhabitants are divided into 40 ethnic groups spread across the country. In the north, a swampy, hilly region populated by farmers and shepherds, live Muslim nomads, such as the animist Somba or Fuller people. The south, with its Atlantic coast, has the greatest concentration of Beninese people, the majority of whom are Fon. The boggy plain is strewn with mangrove swamps, lagoons, and lakes. Cotonou, the economic hub of Benin with its 700,000 inhabitants, stretches along the banks of Lake Nukwe, which is connected to the Atlantic by a long channel. On the other side of this lake, sheltered from the roar of the city, lives a singular group of people, the Tofanu, who have taken up residence in the lakeside village of Gonvier. "50,000 Tofanu live on the water's edge in Gonvier. They have their own language. Fishing is their only resource, and pirogues their only mode of transport." Baba Fuji, 65 years old, is a fisherman too.
How are you, kids? Working hard?
Yes, thanks.
I've finished for the day.
Welcome.
He divides his time between his two homes on stilts, each housing one of his two wives and their respective children. The wives meet regularly to discuss important family business.
Baba Fuji is going to bring in the fish tomorrow. Yes, he told me. Will you come and sell it with me? All right. At the market, we could enlist the help of other women. If it's a good catch, we could sell it over 2 days. If we sell it all in one go, we'll make a loss. Yes, why not? So we agree then.
Look closely, Hubert. Check the net for holes. I'm getting old. My sight isn't what it used to be. Here. There's a hole there. Watch how I fix it. You thread this through here, and then you do it again. You see?
Baba Fuji has 6 children, but it is Hubert, aged 12, whom he has chosen to be his partner and successor in the art of traditional fishing.
Any father who brings a child into the world wants that child to surpass him. I want him to learn well and to continue the tradition. I must pass on all that I know so that he can enhance the family's reputation. Early Tofino people settled here because they were pursued by the Adja people for slavery. They found refuge in the middle of the lake, thanks to the deities that protected them. This is where they found peace, so they called this place Ganvie, which means I was rescued here.
Ganvie, which rescued the Tofano people from the slave hunters in the 18th century, remains the sole refuge of a people with a very special language and way of life that has withstood the standardization of the modern world.
Hubert, wake up. Time to get up. Come on.
It's 5 in the morning. The floating market at Ganvie is in full swing. The fishermen come here for supplies before their working day on the lake.
Sell me some of that. I want 100 francs worth of moyo. Also 100 francs worth of akasa. Wait, and I'll pay you.
More than fishermen, the Tofano people are sea farmers. All around Ganvie, they keep fish farms, which are like sea paddocks. When they planted palm leaves in their saltwater lake, they invented these akajars, or artificial mangrove swamps, which have provided them with a means of subsistence for 3 centuries.
This is the net that needs changing. It's gone slack in the water. Look how dirty it is. Let's stop here. If we don't repair the net, we'll be in trouble. We might lose all the fish.
After several months of waiting, Baba Fuji's akajar is ready to be harvested. Tomorrow, with the help of Hubert, who will accompany him for the first time, he plans to raise his first net. It's an important day in the year of a Tofano fisherman.
I'm going to tell you a story. As you know, the Akajas come from our ancestors. In their day, they didn't practice fish farming the way we do now. They fished with rods in front of their houses, and that was it. But one of them came up with the idea of planting branches in the mud to attract the fish. That's how this type of fishing started. It's like a home for the fish, because they can get food here which fattens them up. They dig holes and lay eggs here, and the fish grow up in the enclosure. When the time comes, we close the nets and lift out the fish. You'll see tomorrow.
It's a good system.
When they're not working on their akajars, the Tofano people fall back on subsistence fishing. It's a technique called casting.
Oh dear, I didn't cast that very well. That's no way to pass on the skill. There's nothing in it. I'll show you how it's done. You put your hand here like this. Look at my hand. Do you see? Do you see that? That's how you cast it. If you've prepared your net properly, it should be easy to cast. Look, if you gather it up wrong, the fish will escape. Now, this is like school. You should get a diploma for casting nets. Go on, Hubert, you take your net. Show me how you cast it. You see? You didn't prepare your net properly. Careful. I'm not sharing my fish with you. If you don't catch anything tonight, you'll have nothing to eat. Go on, try casting it here now. It takes a long time to learn how to cast a net. It's like learning the alphabet. You start with A and you go up to Z. You don't become a net caster overnight. It takes a lot of skill and patience.
It is 10 o'clock, and Baba Fuji and Hubert are hurrying to get to church. It's Easter weekend, and there's an atmosphere of jubilation in Gonvier day and night. Alongside the voodoo temples, Christians and Muslims have settled in this lakeside village. They all coexist in harmony. Weaving strong ties at the heart of this community, it is spirituality that keeps the Tofanu traditions alive. Why weren't you in church? You were outside, running around, instead of staying inside with me. Did you see how we danced? We clapped our hands. Did you see? You should have stayed in church with everyone else and clapped your hands.
We youngsters feel free in Gonvier. On my days off, I go fishing with friends. We earn a bit of cash. I love living underwater. And my dad is a good teacher. He's trying to give me a good education. He's a really good dad. But I'm not planning on making a living from being a fisherman. I'd rather get an apprenticeship in town and train to do something else. I don't want to be a fisherman all my life.
The big day has come. The men have already tightened the nets around the part of the enclosure that they plan to harvest today. First, they must uproot the branches, which have served as a habitat for the fish for the past few months. This is to stop them from getting caught in the net.
Check the branches thoroughly. We'll keep the oysters. We'll rinse them and put them to one side. We can sell those at the same time as the fish. You've been fishing with us since you were born. Your father says you don't want to make a living out of it.
I'd rather do something else. I thought I might be a hairdresser.
You know, Hubert, the new rope is woven from the end of the old rope. That's our tradition. We've inherited it from our parents. If you don't pass it on, what are your children going to do?
If I ever have any children, I'll let some of them be fishermen, but I'll send the others to school. That's what I would have liked for myself. Being a fisherman isn't for me.
We close the net and push it down into the mud so the fish can't escape. We close it gently until we can lift it out of the water. It's not easy because the water's cold and the oysters cut our hands and feet to shreds. Not everyone can do this work. It's very challenging.
After laboring for several hours, Baba Fuji and his men managed to gather the fish together at one end of the farm. It is the long-awaited moment of the fish harvest, the fruit of several months' work. Adukon, one of Baba Fuji's wives, is in charge of picking up the fish and taking them to the market to sell.
God has given us these fish, so we can only rejoice. And this is only the beginning. We plan to harvest all the fish, little by little, and we still have a month of fish farming ahead of us. Today's catch has been very good. It's a good omen. I'm really happy.
Thanks to these Akaja, the Tofanu people in Gombe have found a way to preserve their identity for some time to come. Their future now depends on a generation which dreams of a life elsewhere and an easier way of life. Lake Nokwe is just one of Benin's fragile marine areas and one of two main lakes, the other one being Lake Aheme. To the west of the country, at the mouth of the Mono River, which flows along the border with neighbouring Togo, lies another fragile area, the Bouches du Roi. This protected 10,000-hectare estuary is an important stopover for migratory birds and the site of one of Benin's main mangrove swamps. Dean Akambi works for Eco Benin. He uses the association's meagre funds to battle against overfishing and the illegal felling of trees, which has drastically reduced the size of this mangrove swamp. And yet the mangrove swamp is the coastal population's greatest asset. Rooted in the mud of the delta, these mangrove trees form a rampart against coastal erosion, which is breaking up the Atlantic coastline everywhere else. The fish eaten by humans spawn in their long stilt-like roots, which also act as a fortress for the silt's underclasses. How can we convince the fishermen at the Bouches du Roi to protect their mangrove swamps? Perhaps by seeking inspiration from the past.
Benin's forests are regarded today as sacred relics, either because they are inhabited by deities or because they offer resources used by the deities in various ceremonies. These forests are still here today because people's beliefs have stopped them from chopping down the trees. That has really contributed to the conservation of these forests.
Dean and the Eco Benin Association have come up with a simple and genius idea to protect the mangrove swamp. They have declared it sacred. The Bouches du Roi region is one of the bastions of voodoo in Benin, and everyone respects the authority of the voodoo priests or agbenons.
Hello, Agbenon. Greetings. How are you? Wide awake? How are the preparations going?
Everything's ready?
Everyone in the village has been informed?
Yeah, everyone's waiting for you.
Is it going to happen over there?
On the other side.
Fine, I'll follow you.
Dean has found a powerful ally in the Zongbeto deity or night watchman. Considered to be the protector of the community, he is like the voodoo police, setting rules to maintain good relations between villagers and enforcing them. The deity is embodied by masks, which are brought out at the request of the priests. Reputed to be violent, Zongbeto instills fear in believers and a respect that is maintained by regular shows of strength in the form of small miracles. Some ash, but no burns. These two initiates are the first miracle survivors of the ceremony, but the demonstration isn't over yet.
The deity has spoken. From now on, it is forbidden to cut down mangrove trees. Fishing in akajas is forbidden. Nets are forbidden too, in the area that we're going to make sacred. Anyone found breaking the rules will be arrested and tied up. Yeah, tied up. They'll have to donate a sheep or a pig. They'll have to pick up a basket of gnats and a basket of mosquitoes. And on top of all that, they will have to pay a 120,000 franc fine or 80,000, depending on the mood of the deity.
Zongbeto has spoken, and it will be the deity's followers, spread all over the Bouches-du-Roi area, who will enforce the rules he has announced. To mark out the sacred area, believers are placing images of their deity around the mangrove swamp. The place is now sacred. No one will dare to cut down the mangrove trees or fish the 500 hectares of sacred mangrove swamps. Gods and humans have united and become the sentinels of their natural habitat. The remains of great sacred forests, relics of a time when spirituality protected the environment, cover a third of the surface area of Benin. Further north, the landscape becomes a savanna, strewn here and there with rocky outcrops. In the west, the Atakora mountain range lies between Benin and neighboring Togo. It is in this dusty region, battered by the Harmattan desert wind, that the Somba people live. From an ancient past, when tribal wars were a regular occurrence, they have preserved their habitat, strongholds called Tata Somba. Nowadays, the Somba people live peacefully as subsistence farmers. They have never left the Tata Somba, around which all of their traditions are organized. The local landlord, called Basai, is also the community's healer. He is a medicine man who treats patients with plants and by invoking the spirits of the dead. These anxious parents have brought a young girl suffering from malaria to see him.
Have you got the product I gave you earlier?
Yeah, I have it with me.
Give it to me.
Quiet, darling. You're going to be all right.
Add this powder to a bowl of stew and make her drink it. Do that for 7 days and then come back so I can see if she is cured. My father and grandfather were healers. Before he died, my father left me this tartar. It is this house which bestows good health on people, because the soul of my father and that of my ancestors live on here. That gives me the power to heal people.
For Somba people, their spirituality comes from the cult of their ancestors. The dead aren't really dead as long as they are not forgotten. And each deceased individual, represented by a mound of earth, ensures the happiness and protection of the living. Downstairs, the Tatars are temples to these ancestors, and they also serve as sheepfolds. The roofs, which once contained bedrooms, now serve as grain stores for the winter.
Father, it's my initiation ceremony tomorrow. I want to know what's going to happen.
Dominique, I am not allowed to tell you. You must find out for yourself. But it's all part of growing up and becoming a man.
And then what?
Then you can take a wife and move into your own Tata.
I'm ready.
I'm glad to hear it. My father used to say, our lives begin in these Tatas. So you must keep your Tata the way our ancestors taught us. That's important because it will be the scene of all your ceremonies. The initiation of your future sons and daughters, their weddings, and even your funeral. Those are our traditions.
Basai's son, Dominique, has just turned 18. The Council of Elders has decided that tomorrow he will begin the rites of passage into adulthood. This week of initiation is a turning point in the life of a Somba man. It is an obligatory step without which he cannot take a wife or play a role in this patriarchal society. When the time comes for him to leave, Dominique knows that he is engaging in a process from which there is no return. He will no longer live in the house that he was born in.
Dominique, your initiation starts today. You have grown up. Receive the holy water, be well, and come back stronger. Your parents give you their blessing. When you return from this initiation ceremony, you will have changed. You will have grown up.
Dominique goes off into the bush, where he will spend 8 days being subjected to the secret initiation rituals performed by the chiefs. Meanwhile, everyone busies themselves doing up Dominique's new home. Like everywhere else in the world, Benin is turning towards individualist values. The Somba people are also undergoing this transformation, with the noticeable outcome that the Tata Samba are being abandoned. They require an enormous collective effort of building and renovation. That is unpaid work that few people can afford. But luckily, in the village of Bukumbe, the values of solidarity live on. Villagers, neighbours and family members have come to lend a hand to do up the Tata that Dominique will soon move into.
In Somba tradition, After your initiation ceremony, you must go to your own tata and build a home for yourself. That's why we're doing up this tata for Dominique. The men do the building work, but we add a feminine touch. We women are in charge of maintaining and doing up the tatas. This place represents a link between life and death. Our spirits are hidden here. If this house disappears, our ancestors will disappear with it, and they won't be able to do any more for us.
A week later, Dominique's Tata Samba is ready, just as he and two other boys emerge from their initiation ceremony. The adults take it in turn to carry the initiates on their shoulders before placing them on the ground to symbolize the passage to adulthood. From this moment on, they must stand on their own 2 feet. Dominique and his fellow initiates leave the group and head off to make their Tata Samba their own. As a hangover from past wars, Dominique climbs onto the roof and scours his surroundings for enemies. From today, it is down to him to defend his home and his land. The symbolic fight the young men are engaging in is the final stage of initiation, proof that they are now capable of defending themselves without any help from their fathers. It is traditional for them to share a beer afterwards, to mark the end of the fight and a newfound friendship amongst the young initiates. It also marks the start of the celebrations.
I'm very proud of this celebration. When it is over, my son will be free. He has not transgressed once during his initiation. He has passed all the stages without failing. That makes me very happy.
A new life begins for the young man.
Today I'm very happy. I used to live with my father, but now I'm a man. I'm sure I'll get married soon. The girls will think, there's a handsome boy who's come through his initiation rites in fine form. I've watched my father maintaining our traditions. He's kept them alive for me. And in turn, I'm ready to spend the rest of my life defending our land. When I bring a child into the world, I want to pass on all this knowledge. And that child will preserve the house of his ancestors too.
An ancient culture devoted to the cult of its ancestors, lives on in the land of the Somba people. Here, like in the rest of Benin, spirituality is both a weapon and a tool to protect a precious and fragile heritage. Hidden under a thick green mantle is the heart and soul of Gabon. This tropical rainforest, which covers 80% of the country, provides the Gabonese with all the essential elements for their traditions, medicine and resources.
We can't leave the forest because it nourishes us. This forest is our temple. It's our heritage.
Faced with a modern world, which is so far removed from its environment, some men and women are trying to reconnect with the forest and protect its inhabitants. They are the sentinels of Gabon. Night has fallen over Libreville, Gabon's capital. Drawn to the artificial lights of the city and the hope of an easier life, almost half the country's population is concentrated in the Gabonese metropolis. Here, the nourishing forest has disappeared, replaced by a concrete jungle. The night market is the meeting point for football enthusiasts and singletons, with nowhere else to go. 30-year-old Juiste likes to wander there after a day's work.
I am a young man living in Libreville. I work in the building trade. I make bricks. Sometimes I drink a beer with the others. That's my life in Libreville. Here, people have opted for an easy life. I feel as if we've lost touch with our roots. Gabonese culture comes from the forest. Here in Libreville, we have lost a sense of that. To reconnect with my culture, I'm going back to its source. Back to the forest. Tomorrow is a big day for me. I feel a bit on edge, a bit scared, because I don't know what to expect. I honestly don't know. Tomorrow I will meet my initiation father.
The man Juiste is going to meet is to be found 20 kilometers north of Libreville, on the edge of Mondar Forest. That's where Romulus lives and practices. Romulus is a gonga, in other words, a spirit guide and medicine man. This morning, he has come to harvest the prize crop of the Gabonese forest, iboga. Whether dried and ground into a powder or eaten raw, iboga acts as a stimulant for anyone ingesting it in small quantities, and when taken in strong doses, it provokes powerful visions. In a lot of countries, iboga is considered to be a dangerous hallucinogenic drug. But for practitioners of Bwiti, iboga is a sacred plant. It is a precious key which opens doors to the future and the spirit world. Bwiti is a lot of things. It is a godless religion, a vision of the world, and a form of therapy. But above all, it is an initiation ritual performed by Gabonese men seeking to follow traditions. Yannick and Juiste apply white kaolin to their skin. White is the color of novices, and today is the day of their initiation ceremony. They hope that the Ibaga will give them a glimpse of their future and help them to understand the obstacles strewn along their path.
Bwiti encourages wisdom and uprightness. This is an important moment for me because I'm going to find out lots of things that are happening in my life and in the world. For us, Bwiti is a way to reconnect with the forest.
The time has come for you to meet the river spirits. Iboga is our way of communing with our ancestors. The spirits you meet must smell the sacred plant on your breath. It is time for the crossing. It is time to eat the Iboga root.
To the initiates, Romulus administers a small dose of Iboga root, ground to a powder. Everyone reacts differently to the sacred plant, so they must get used to its effects gradually.
We finished getting ready. Now we will go to the river. Go and wash and prepare yourselves for this astral journey. Right, we have arrived at the river. When you come into contact with Iboga, first we must wash you to purify you physically and spiritually.
I feel completely transported. I've got shivers running down my spine. I'm trembling. I feel a presence. I sense that there are people around me, watching me. The river spirit, for example. He has spoken to me. He has spoken to me from the forest.
You are now facing Bwiti. You must tell me what you see in the water. The forest is full of spirits, and they like people who've taken Iboga. When they know you've taken Iboga, they try to appear to you. I can see them. Right this minute, I can see them. Now it's your turn to speak.
On that palm tree over there, I can see the face of a man with a painted face. He's got a red hat on his head, and next to him there is a duck.
Those are the spirits you've conjured up. They've come to greet you. Basse. Just, Basse.
Under the effect of Iboga, Juiste seems to perceive a world of spirits whilst remaining perfectly coherent.
Today I feel like a different man to the man I was yesterday. Yesterday I came here all pale and sad. I felt a heaviness. But this morning I feel very light. I feel tall and handsome and happy. I am so happy to have seen all that I wanted to see. I saw my marriage, I saw my promotions, I saw my job, I saw my children. I saw it all, and I'm going to leave happy because I know what awaits me. Thanks to the Iboga.
A few hours later, the vigil commences. The followers gather to sing the praises of their ancestors and of the spirits, asking for all the ills that afflict them to be cured. Inside the temple, men and women gather round the Gonga Amisoko, or master healers. Tonight, Romulus is leading the ceremony for these young initiates. They are now ready to swallow the iboga bark gathered that morning. It will be a big enough dose to open their minds to the spirit world forever. Now that he has tasted the bitter iboga bark, Juiste has become a Bwiti initiate.
The young initiates come from the city. They've worked hard, but they've never felt satisfied. They have gone to consult their elders, who have told them they will find peace of mind in Bwiti. Bwiti is the science of nature and the forest. It was born of the forest. Without the forest, we are nothing. Modernization tricks us, it blinds us. It's as simple as that. Because a true Gabonese man is what you see before you. This is what a typical Gabonese man looks like.
Going back to your roots by reconnecting with the forest, the close link that exists between tradition and the forest can be explained by the country's geography. Situated in Central Africa, Gabon is a small country covering 270,000 square kilometers. It is almost entirely covered by tropical rainforest. The density of the vegetation and the rudimentary road network have driven 90% of Gabonese people to the coast or along the rivers, which for a long time were the only means of transport. That is the case for the capital, Libreville, and for Port Gentil, but also for the small town of Lambaréné, on the banks of the Ogwe River. Lambaréné is famous for this legendary place, the Albert Schweitzer Hospital. Over 100 years ago, in this shabby-looking bush hospital, two ideas were invented that were revolutionary for the time: humanitarian engagement and a respect for the environment. Praxed is one of 80 nurses working at the hospital.
I'm going to shave your beard off because you can't do it yourself. There. You're going to be so handsome. You'll have women eyeing you up. Isn't that right, Johnny? Today's going to be your lucky day. This gentleman suffers from psychomotor retardation. He has severe learning difficulties. He even has difficulty answering certain questions. He has been here since he was born. The foundation takes care of this man There. Now wash yourself. We'll give that a good wash. That's it. Give it a good wash. Otherwise, when you pass people, they'll say, Umba smells bad, and we don't want that. Hello.
Johnny,
it feels good, doesn't it, Johnny, when I scratch your back? The others will be envious. You should sleep well tonight. You're not cold, are you? I love this guy. He has watched me grow up since I was a baby. We had a good relationship with him and his mother. They were our closest neighbours.
Praxed, a nurse and the daughter of a lab assistant, has lived her whole life here. Because this hospital is, above all, a place to live. It is the hospital village that Dr. Albert Schweitzer, the man who built it, always dreamed of. When Albert Schweitzer arrived here in 1913, Gabon was part of French Equatorial Africa. Newly qualified as a doctor and steeped in the Christian faith, this young utopian wanted to expiate the crimes of colonization and help to relieve some of the suffering in Africa. It was in Lamborghini, on the edge of the virgin forest, as he later wrote, that he decided to build his ideal hospital. It was to be a free clinic, designed to be like an African village, where the families of patients would actively participate in the care and healing of the sick. A place where all life would be sacred, whether human or animal. Schweitzer laid the foundations for humanitarian action and cultivated an ecological conscience that he called reverence for life. 40 years later, in the 1950s, the good doctor became a global superstar, and his hospital received donations from all over the world. In 1952, Schweitzer won a Nobel Prize, and with a $33,000 grant, funded the construction of a building for patients with leprosy called the Village Lumière. Praxed is expected there today, more than 50 years after Schweitzer's death.
Hello. Ah, there you are. I'll see if I have any medicine for you over there. Good evening, Jean-Claude. Right. You need to stand up so you can come and get some treatment. Slowly does it.
Jean-Claude, who suffers from leprosy, has lived in Village Lumière since 1978.
You've got some pus in there.
He worked for a number of years as a lab assistant here before retiring.
Oh, you'll have to be brave. I'm going to apply some pressure. There. It had to be done. It's starting to swell again.
After Schweitzer's death, Village Lumière gradually went downhill and emptied out. Today, its dilapidated buildings only house 4 patients suffering from leprosy.
The people who now live in the Village Lumière are either descendants of lepers or squatters who just showed up one morning. They found the houses empty and stayed on. They like it here, but they can't stand the sight of the lepers, who they see as untouchables. If they could find a way to throw them out of the village, they would do so. You need to see the doctor so he can give you some antibiotics. Some people can't stand the sight of them, but when I go to see them, there's a sense of relief. When I show up, they treat me as if I was the Messiah. They think I can solve all of their problems.
Praxed is very close to me. I have a soft spot for her. She's like a daughter to me. Yes, like a daughter.
Half a century after Schweitzer's death, this hospital village is a mere shadow of its former self. Neglected by the Gabonese state and rejected by patients who prefer more modern clinics, the hospital is in real financial difficulties, and the staff grumble that they are paid too little. The materialism and individualism of our century seem to have got the better of Schweitzer's communitarian ideals. The good doctor's dream has been dashed in these modern times.
I feel as if the Schweizerian spirit has been broken. There is no longer that light that people once experienced. The hospital is falling to pieces. It's as if it was a piece of fabric that has been washed so many times that it is in shreds. Hello, everyone.
Hello, children. Are all the children okay?
Just like Schweitzer in his day, Arnaud Flamand left the comfort of his native France to settle in Lambaréné and lend a hand where it was most needed. Today, he is part of the Mother and Child Protection Team, and every week he goes to meet mothers and their children in remote villages.
Regarde le docteur.
Does he sleep under a mosquito net?
She's not feeling well. The poor thing is sick. She feels dizzy. It's malaria. Oh, she's going to be sick. It's malaria.
Is she hot? Take her temperature.
Tell me if you're going to be sick.
Is that your daughter? She's anemic. She should be in hospital. She needs to go to hospital. She's really very anemic. She might even need a blood transfusion. Community healthcare is one of Dr. Albert Schweitzer's legacies. He invented the model for the integrated hospital. That means a hospital that is integrated with the environment, integrated with the population that makes up that environment, integrated in terms of the diseases it treats. Working closely with the people brings them relief and helps prevent certain degenerative diseases. Even a slight case of malaria can quickly become serious. By treating it as early as possible, you can stop the situation from degenerating.
empêcher que la situation dégénère.
Do you want to sit down there? You'll be comfortable, no?
By bringing medicine to these remote villages, the doctors and nurses from the Schweizer hospital are helping to keep people in their native environment. It's a way of fighting this rural exodus which has emptied the Gabonese forest. A hospital which maintains the link between humans and their natural habitat was Dr. Schweitzer's vision.
Dr. Schweitzer's legacy was huge. I take great delight in spending time in the hospital with those people whom society doesn't love, but whom I love. They have been rejected by society, but I embrace them. The hospital is my umbilical cord. It is my whole life.
Southeast of Lambaréné, down to the Congolese border in the south, lie the Mayombe and Chaillu mountain ranges, where a hilly landscape and lush vegetation have curbed human expansion. Here lies the untouched heart of the great forest. It is like a green ocean from which the odd island of human life emerges. This is one of the last refuges of the Babongo pygmies who are native to Gabon. Once nomadic, the Babongo people have now settled here and they practice subsistence farming. But their society is still structured around fishing, hunting and harvesting, all that the forest has to offer. Combo is 33 years old. He is one of the best hunters in his village.
We have come into the forest in search of a creeper known as monai. Monai is the poison we use for hunting. But while we're in the forest, we can pick up other things. These silkworms, for example, if they're plump enough, we can take them back to the village to eat. Oh, they're only small.
Combo, come and look at this.
The forest's very important to us because it nourishes us. We can find everything we need for survival in the forest. We're here. Let's walk around it.
It's at the base of this monai creeper that the poison is at its most powerful. But in order to reach it, Combo is careful to walk around the plant, which can cause impotence or infertility in men who step over it.
De makanda makini bama chuma kepa kakati na.
If you have a tiny wound and you touch that, you're stuffed. There, we got enough here.
Don't leave that stick lying around.
No, I'm going to plant it in the ground. Animals come here. If one of them licks the poison off that stick, they'll die on the spot. We kill animals to eat them, not to leave them rotting in the forest. I don't like that. We're the guardians of this place. We must avoid waste in the forest. We mix the poison with crushed leaves and then apply it to the arrows. Then we go hunting with the poisoned arrows. This technique has been passed on by our ancestors. Before he died, my uncle took me into the forest to teach me how to harvest and prepare the monai. In theory, in Gabon's pygmy community, any man can prepare poison to go hunting with.
Once the poison has been prepared, it is carefully smeared onto the bamboo arrows. The poison tip is then dried over the fire so that it sticks to the wood better. The arrow's feathers, cut from a hard leaf, also come from the forest. Similarly, the rattan string and the arc are made from hardwood that bends in the heat. Barely 60 centimeters long, it is adapted to suit the height of the pygmy hunters and deadly from a short distance. For those Babongo people who can afford it, guns and cartridges have replaced poison and arrows. But hunting with a bow and arrow still features in any major event in the village. Shut away in this hut, Kombo's wife Marceline is living with her mother. In Babongo tradition, the women go into seclusion with their baby immediately after giving birth, and only emerge 2 or 3 months later, once they have totally recovered. Marceline and her baby are due to come out tomorrow. It is a rite of passage which will be duly celebrated in the tiny village of Chibonga.
Tomorrow's ceremony will allow my child to be safe when he comes out. It will prevent him from falling ill, and it will protect us all in the village.
This child had a twin brother who died at birth. That makes him all the more special in the eyes of the Babongo community.
Twins are rare here. The village rejoices when they are born, because it means the spirits have blessed the village. I lost one of my twins, but it's still a blessing. This child means the spirits will protect us.
We're well into the dry season, and the rivers have dried up. The animals have moved away. And this season, it's very hard to find any game. In the rainy season, we'll leave the village and set up a temporary camp here, so we can gather nuts and go hunting. We'll stay here for 2 or 3 months, and then we'll return to the village once we've killed enough game to see us through the dry season. We need a lot of meat to share amongst all those people who don't hunt. A monkey. A monkey. A monkey. I shot the monkey, and it ran over there. It's between the branches and the creepers. It stopped. It's still hanging up there.
It's dead.
Yeah, I think it's dead.
The poison, which acts instantly once it gets into the bloodstream, has killed the prey in less than a minute. It is a moustached guenon, a common species which is not endangered. Combo has shot a master stroke, with the arrow landing between its eyes.
Yeah, it's very important for the village to have skillful hunters, because the game is shared amongst the whole community. A hunter can't eat alone because that would frustrate the others. And then when they kill something, they won't share it either. That would mean the end of harmony in the Babongo community.
A great blue turaco, another common species in the tropical forest. It's been a good day's hunting. The whole community will benefit. The sun is setting over Chibonga. Tonight, Combo's wife and son will come out of seclusion. The village has gathered to celebrate the event.
Combo, here is your wife and child. Keep them safe. The spirits will protect you.
Their geographic isolation and their inherited knowledge of their forest homeland have allowed the Babongo pygmies to carry on their traditions on the margins of the modern world. But the modern world is catching up with them. A few hours' drive away, trucks and chainsaws are hard at work. Today, 80% of Gabon is exploited for the wood industry, and each new road carved out of the forest opens up a new access route for poachers. In response to these threats to the environment, the Gabonese government gave 11% of the land the status of sanctuary in 2002. There are 13 national parks scattered across the country which serve as a refuge for the local flora and fauna. Loango National Park in the southwest of the country is perhaps the most emblematic of the Gabonese national parks. – 1,500 square kilometers of beaches, lagoons, mangrove swamps and forest have earned Loango the nickname of the last African Eden. Forest elephants, wiped out everywhere else for their ivory, have found true sanctuary in these marshes. Their trunks, which they use like snorkels, allow them to reach the deepest channels. Sonia, a Spanish primatologist posted to Loango, is making the most of a few hours of free time.
Go slowly now. We're getting close.
Don't worry, it's going to be fine. Don't panic. These elephants often do that. It's their way of intimidating you.
Okay, Carl, that will do. Let's leave him alone. That was crazy. A bit too close for my liking. But it's incredible to see one from so close up. No one would believe me back at the camp. I came to Loango National Park about 3 months ago, and the animal that scares me the most when I'm working in the forest is the elephant. My team and I are always careful not to come face to face with an elephant. They can be aggressive, and usually as soon as they see us, they charge. You have to be wary of them all the time. Then, after the elephants, it's the gorillas, of course. When a large silverback male charges at you, it's very frightening.
Sonia lives and works in the heart of Loango in the Gorilla Research Station. She is coordinating the work of 8 Babongo trackers, 1 other primatologist, 2 research assistants, and a cook and aide-de-camp. This small team lives cut off from the world in this rudimentary camp, in a remote spot between the lagoons and the forest.
Life at the camp is very simple. Our basic needs are covered. We have a room for privacy with a bed, but no luxuries. The people who visit us are always a bit shocked by our life here, by the fact that we shower using a jug of lagoon water. But the truth is that we Westerners have completely lost touch with nature, and I find that very sad. By living here, I feel as if I'm reconnecting with nature a bit.
Every morning, 2 different teams leave the camp to head off into the forest in search of gorillas. Their aim is to try to establish and maintain contact with a view to gaining a better understanding of how the gorillas of the plains behave. The search starts where the team left the gorillas the day before.
Are those teeth marks?
Yes.
From gorillas?
Yes.
So you left them here yesterday?
No, we left them over there.
So perhaps they've come back, looking for food?
Yes, in search of food.
We have just arrived at the gorillas' feeding ground. This isn't exactly where we left the group yesterday. We left them a bit further away in that direction. But apparently they woke up and came here to eat these tomella fruit.
These footprints are from this morning.
Are they from gorillas?
Yes.
Do you think they passed by here a long time ago?
They passed by here this morning, I'd say about 8 o'clock.
Here too.
Okay.
Right. So let's put our masks on, okay? We've located the group. They are about 10 meters away in that direction, in the trees. When we approach them, we make this sound, which they now associate with our presence. They know this sound now, and when they hear it, they know that it's us, and that calms them down. And now we put masks on to prevent the transmission of disease, because gorillas are sensitive to respiratory diseases. We are going to approach the group slowly, because even if we can see individuals in the trees, we don't know where the silverback is. To avoid any aggressive behavior, it's important to keep the dominant male in sight and to circumnavigate the group. That's Kamaya, the dominant male in the group. He's calm, but not completely reassured. He's keeping an eye on us. The rest of the group are eating in the trees.
The social interaction between adult gorillas seems to be very limited and remains a mystery to scientists. We know that the silverback dominates the group, but scientists have had a hard time trying to decipher the subordinate relationships that exist between other members of the family. When fruit falls off a tree, it should, in theory, go to the nearest dominant male.
Jean-Pierre, don't move. No. Don't move, Jean-Pierre. Don't move.
But with gorillas, as with humans, the weakest can walk off with the prize if they happen to be the fastest or the most reckless.
Waka is sitting waiting for something. Do you know why? There's a fruit there. There's a fruit right next to him. Since Kamaya is there, he's hesitating.
He's pretending to be looking for something.
Yeah, he's pretending to be looking for something on the ground. He's scratching the leaves.
Yes, because Kamaya is still watching him.
Kamaya is watching him, but only Ebwande has seen it. Kamaya doesn't really know what's going on.
He should pay more attention. Waka is still behind the tree. He's not coming any closer.
Ebwande is dominant over Waka.
Yes, yes. Kamaya, Ebwande, Waka.
That's it.
He's building a nest.
The gorillas spend all day alternating these phases of movement, feeding, playing, and resting until the evening, when they go back into the trees and build a nest for the night. The scientists have recorded every significant detail, collecting data on the behavior and biology of these animals.
We have collected a ton of data today. Action,
Okay.
indirect charge,
Yeah?
aimed at Waka.
Right.
It's a painstaking job, but it's essential if we are to better understand and protect these gorillas.
People often ask me, why are you so obsessed with these gorillas? I don't have a logical answer, but I'm lucky enough to be fulfilling my dream. Ever since I started studying biology, everything I have done in my life, every job and every experience I've had, I have done with the goal of getting to this point. I waited 30 years for this moment, so finally being with the gorillas is very emotional for me. From the outset, it has been a very positive, very enriching experience. I've made the most of it every day since I arrived here.
By leaving Europe to settle in the heart of the forest, Sonia has renewed the bond which should exist between all of us and our environment. Praxed is fighting a similar battle, helping her people to survive in their natural habitat by giving them access to healthcare. Far from nature, mankind is losing touch with its roots. Finding them again is sometimes a simple case of heading back into the forest. The few wise men like Combo are aware of that fact. It is up to them to pass on the message. They are the sentinels of a tropical rainforest, without which no other life on Earth would exist.